because I did a whole session with a friend where we set up a whole session where we'd mixed my vocal and guitar to roughly what I might want it to be mixed to for my first gig. I was supposed to be able to load that in, but I went to load it in and I ended up loading a blank screen instead with nothing on it. Hi guys, and welcome back to your channel, and if you're new here, then welcome to the chaos. I do all things music related on here, from audio engineering content to songwriting and production challenges to just talking about music and musician life. So, those of you who have watched other videos on this channel may remember that not that long ago, just the start of this year, I have bought a new mixing desk. I've gotten one of those digital mixing desks, one of the Behringer XAirs. I went for their highest range model in the end. There was a whole thing where I went with one of the lower range models and then ended up exchanging it in. Anyway, there's a whole video on that, just me talking about buying this and why I bought it. But one of the things with this new desk is that basically it doesn't have mixing desk on the actual desk, it just has inputs. Instead, you mix everything on an app. You can use the XAir app, which is the actual Behringer app for it, or you can use other apps for it. The main one people tend to recommend is Mixing Station. A lot of people, you know, they just couldn't wait to jump into the comment section of a video where I literally mentioned that you can use Mixing Station to tell me that I should use Mixing Station, and was I aware the Mixing Station exists and you probably wouldn't want to use the app, and I'm like, okay. I have downloaded and bought Mixing Station because all of the recommendation is that you might not get on with the XAir app and you might want to use Mixing Station instead, and everybody talks about how good it is. So I made sure to get that as a just in case for if I found that I was going to have problems with the XAir app and was going to need that for if I'm taking this out to gigs and stuff. But for now, I haven't had any problems using the XAir app. Now again, I haven't really used it much, so the main problem I'm having at the moment is that I don't really know my way around it that well. But looking at the XAir app so far, I'm finding it slightly more intuitive than I was the Mixing Station app. I basically opened up the Mixing Station app and was very confused about where to find things. I just find it quite overwhelming to look at, and I really struggle, my brain struggles with processing things like that, unfortunately. If something doesn't look nice and neat and organized, all I see is chaos, and when I open the Mixing Station app, all I see is chaos. Now, I know I should be able to set it up to look nicer for me, but again, I haven't needed to really look at it that much yet, so I can't learn everything all at once, and so I am learning more about the XAir app. I'll look at the Mixing Station app properly eventually, but until I have got my way a bit around this, I don't want to look at another app and end up confusing myself and starting to think that things are in different places on the app I'm actually going to use. My plan is for an open mic that I'll be running on Tuesday, which is now 2 days away, to use this mixing desk and therefore use this app. And so I need to really get to grips with it properly and refamiliarize myself with it, because I basically haven't touched it since a month or so ago when I first took this out to a gig. So I'm going to run through the app today and get to know it a bit better and test out some things I need to be aware of and know how I'm going to do before this open mic. And tomorrow I'm actually going back round to that friend's place and we're going to spend some time getting presets and stuff all sorted, channel settings ready for just an acoustic guitar, just a vocal, just if someone brings a keyboard, you know, things like that. Maybe a bass guitar, someone might bring a bass guitar, I'm not sure. First things first is to refamiliarize myself properly with the app and make sure I know where all of the important settings are and how things work. So first things first, let's refamiliarize myself with the actual channels. We're just going to look at this channel 1 because that's where I've got this mic plugged in, so if I unmute this, you'll be able to hear some sound over there, which is, I'm going to turn that down a little bit. It doesn't need to be that loud really for me just doing this now, but you'll be able to hear some sound over there because I've got a new fancy speaker as well that I was just testing everything, connecting up with that and making sure I knew that that was all working all right. And it's come out that I'm going to just turn this back off, but yeah, I've only got it going through the bassy bit of it. I haven't got the bit that deals more with the treble, which is because I've got one of those arrays where you've got a bottom bit and you've got a pole. So I would definitely probably have this mic up a bit more in terms of its overall gain. Although I have turned the gain up quite a bit and it's still, so I could probably turn this up even more. So there we go, we're getting about the same volume we were before, but the fader is way lower. Anyway, point being, we have signal. If I click on the very top bit up there of the channel strip, you get into the section that deals with the inputs, whether you want to send 48 volts out, whether you want to up your mic gain, or whether you want to switch it from mic to USB, because obviously I can send signal out from a USB connected device into this, and I can also send signal out from this into a USB connected device. I'm going to deal with that in a second. I remember all of that all looks nice and clear and easy. And then I think it's in this section, so we've got our bus sends, so that's how much of it I could send out to different buses. I don't really need to worry too much about that on Tuesday, because I'm probably not going to have any buses set up on Tuesday, because there's not going to be any monitor. It's opened all of that up as is, hasn't it? So I can just keep scrolling across and get to the different sections, so we can have our gate, our dynamics, our EQ, our inserts, and this is where channel preset is. So this is where I would save presets. So I'm not going to bother setting any settings on this because it's relatively simple. You set this basically like a normal EQ. You got your EQ curve there. I remember all of this pretty well. When it comes to dynamics, again, you'd be setting your threshold normally like that. You'd be setting things like your attack and stuff normally like this. So that's all relatively simple. If you understand how things like a compressor and EQ work, then you're going to understand these. I look at these and I understand them pretty well. There's not much point me setting those now because I'm not doing any sort of actual test runs of sound properly now. It's not practical to try and do that by myself. It's going to be easier with a friend playing instruments and stuff and me trying to set his levels and get an idea of roughly basic things I'd want in presets set up. That's all nice and simple, but when I do then want to save a preset, so the thing I want to check here, let's change a few settings to something weird, just so we can really tell, so that we can test that I do have in fact now figured this out correctly for saving channel presets this is. So if I want to save a preset in here, I click that, test is what I'm going to call you, and this is preset in new show 2. We'll come back to the shows thing because I want to double check I've understood everything with that as well, so I'll play with that in a second. And that's my test. Okay, let's now go back in, and I'm literally just going to take all this off basically. Just take it all off. So now if I go back to presets and I click on test, I can click save again now because I've made changes, so I could save over this and change what that preset is. But if I click load, then when I now go back into these tabs, everything has been loaded back. So I have now got that down. I know how to save presets. So I'll be saving presets in there for different individual channels. Output. So is this... now this is routing to different out. So I can send this to a DCA group or a mute group. I might want to send things like when I'm setting things up for the open mic, if I try and get like all of their instruments in particular separated from mics and my mic specifically, so that as I'm talking I can mute their instruments straight away so that they can unplug quickly, is something I'm probably going to end up using this for. So yeah, it's just going to be easier if there's a nice quick easy ways to mute things I'll probably prioritize setting up my presets tomorrow. Okie dokie. I am confident with everything I need to know within that. There is nothing else within that I'm really that worried about knowing. The next thing I wanted to confirm that I definitely know, what's in the meters section? Okay, that just allows me to see all of the metering all at once for every single channel, all of the main outs, the aux outs, all of that stuff. See it all. Okay. Shows. That's the next thing I wanted to go into and familiarize myself with. I'm gonna double check that I know how to save not just a show, because what I did last time wrong, I think, is I saved a show and it turns out that doesn't save any settings. It just like creates a folder for you to then save settings into, and all those settings that you want to save for that particular show are saved within that show's folder, but it doesn't actually create any save files for any settings you have. Now I thought saving a show meant saving all the setup you'd done, but it looks like that is saving a scene, and that means that then you can open up a show here and you have all of the scenes you need for that show. So if you had something more complicated that you were trying to do a sound check for, like if you were doing a festival or something and you'd sound checked all the bands that day, and you just make a new show folder for that day's sound check, and then you save each band as a different scene, and then you go into that at the start and you load in their band, and then when that band's done you go back into that folder and you load in the next band. So that's just an organizing thing, and I thought that was actually saving the presets, but it wasn't. So nothing actually got saved from what I did that day. So when I hit load, it didn't load anything because loading a show just means opening that bit there. That's what that does. So if I click on that scene here in this Emo Acoustic show we thought we'd set up, and I click load, it'll open up something that basically has none of the settings from before at all. But if I go back into new show 2, this little test I did before, I'll load that, and then was it this scene? Load. Okay, so that has loaded what we had before just now. I didn't save anything from just now, so if I load this, it's slightly different again, I think. Cool. something I'm relieved to see is that it looks like it saves these little labels at the top. How did I change these before? Because I learned how to change these coloured labels at the top here. You can see I've named the tracks things. Really handy. I need that. So I think it was in setup, wasn't it? Yes, it's in setup, and then it's in layout within setup. That's where it is. Perfect. And you can pick here your general layout that you want and layers that you want. So we can add a layer, because currently you have the preset layers that they've created of channels 1 to 8, channels 9 to 16, all channels, DCA and FX, DCA and aux. These are the things basically that when you open up one of those, if I actually show what that is, because I figured out what that is the other day, well, yesterday even. It's here, layers. So if I go into that layer section there, I can open up just all 1 to 8, 9 to 16, DCA and FX, etc, etc. Back to what we were doing, in setup, layout, scribble strip, that's what it's called. So let's have a look at this channel 1 to 8, and let's change one of these. So let's call this Emma Host Mic. Let's change these colours. So we'll change this one to red. Oh, let's make me white. I fancy that one being white for some reason. I don't know, that feels like an because it's not really a colour. It feels like it is all the others are subgroups under it. So then let's make all the vocal mics green, and let's make that yellow, because I tend to make my guitars on my Logic projects golden, so that kind of fits. Okay, let's now save this as a scene in Use Show 2. So adding a scene, it's doing its little thing, loading it all up. Cool, we name it, test scene, save, make sure it's, I think I'm pretty sure it already saved that, but I just want to make sure it's definitely saved it. Cool, now if I load up new scene 1 again, it goes back to that. Cool, so yes, but when I change these little labels in the scenes, they get saved. That's good to know. I wanted to double check that, so tomorrow I can set up labels, I can pick which channels I'm going to plug things into, and I can set all those channels up, and I can change the labels at the top, and it will save that in my scenes for me. Okay, what else do I need to know how it works? Ideally, I need to get to know all the effects and stuff, and I need to actually understand how this works. So these are the effects sends, and I got mixed up with this before because there's a difference between the effects sends and actually just putting an effect on a channel, isn't there? So when I go in here, we've got inserts over here as well. This insert then would be on this whole channel versus using the effect sends. So if I turn this up to send you to that effect, there we go. Now we have reverb again. So that's sending to whatever is on. Where does it show that? Because that's shown somewhere. That's in effects. It's here. So that's this one. Okay, so we've got a vintage room verb on that. So if I were to change things on this, it would change on that. You can't hear it very clearly because, again, that's not very loud. So I can also send to these effects here, and then I can change there, whether it's pre or post EQ and stuff. Okay, cool. I'm confident now that I understand the difference between those. So if I were to go into insert, I can actually put a specific effect on this specific channel. How do I change these? Though, because I can change these, can't I? Where is it? If I go back out of here and I go into the effects panel, I click on that. Where is it? I click on edit up at the top here and I can pick a different one. But that doesn't seem to be any sort of option. Unless if I change it in that, will it change it? Let's see. Let's change this to a rich plate verb. Come back out of that. Then go back into here. Go into insert. And it did change it. Okay, that's how you change that. Right, I understand that now. Cool. I have a much better understanding of the XAir app now just from doing that alone. Just confirming things that I've now watched videos on. What's a snapshot? Because I heard people talking about snapshots as well. I don't think I need to know about that though, so I might leave it for now. USB outputs. Okay, so if I go into the Logic settings to make sure that you are, route you through the input 3 XR18, apply. Okie dokie. So now input 1 should be channel 1. So if I hit record on that, I'm now getting signal on there, which means yes, there's somewhere where you can set it pre-fader, post-fader, so on and so forth, pre-EQ, post-EQ. What does analog do? Okay, analog and mute, input, input and mute, pre-EQ. This is where it is, isn't it? On the day, what I will probably be doing is having that all set to, maybe I would set it to analog and mute. I'm not entirely sure what the difference is going to be here between analog and input. But now I understand where that is and how to find it. I think I've answered all my questions there. Those are my current questions. I have gotten to know XAir a lot better. I think that might just be the natural end of the video, guys. I feel like this video has been very chaotic, even with one of my videos, because there isn't really a natural start to end. There were just a bunch of things I needed to get to know about this app this day and test out and make sure I was confident about where things were, so that when I go into this session tomorrow, I can get all my presets and stuff set up, and then I can do this open mic on Tuesday, and I am confident that I know enough about this that if something sounds like it's going wrong, I know where to look. There's probably going to be little things I get wrong on the night, but I'm hoping that by getting myself nice and prepped in advance, I know what's gone wrong when things go wrong. You know, I can go, oh, I've unmuted the wrong thing here, I'm looking at the wrong screen here. I hope that has maybe answered some questions you had about the app if you were faffing about with this and struggling to figure it out as well. Then I hope that this was helpful to you. I will definitely be making follow-up videos in the future, more videos on the XAir app and me using my XR18 and the things I'll be doing through this open mic, and showing you guys some of the features of this desk as I use more of them, because I bought this desk to use it, not just to play gigs with my guitar and my vocal through it. If you enjoyed this video, then you might enjoy my content on this channel in general, in which case you might want to hit that subscribe button, but I know that that is a big decision to make, so do feel free to check out some of the other content on this channel before you do so. There'll be something recommended on the end screen. If you want to follow me on all of my socials and see how things go with the open mic, then they are all linked below as well. There are also links down there to my artist stuff. There is also a link in there to my Buy Me a Coffee for any of you who want to support me in a monetary way. You can send one-off donations on there, but you can also join my memberships. Okie dokie. That is all for today's video. I shall see you guys next week with another fun music related video, probably an update on how my open mic went. Bye!